Hey guys, I just woke up. Can you tell because my eyes are barely open? Um, I just thought I could make this quick video about how my biggest haters are my parents. Growing up, being the black sheep of the family, the scapegoat, I wasn't always identified as the scapegoat until I went against the norm under the household. You know, I started seeing the abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, and just what was normalized under the roof. And eventually I learned that this is all learned from the village. You know, when we visited back home and I saw a lot and I experienced a lot. Wow, I must be really tired because I'm not crying. Or maybe I'm over it. I've thought about this a lot over the years. I've thought about this and I've recorded myself trying to talk about this so many times, but I just end up crying. But today, maybe I'm just so exhausted, I can actually finally talk about it. Before I explain everything, I want to preface that my experiences as a South Asian doesn't reflect the majority of South Asians. I've met progressive families, I've met families that are inclusive and do assimilate, and different communities. I've learned there are differences between communities of South Asians, and mine just happened to be one of the worst. My family was already very conservative of holding values from the village, and they didn't consider themselves or their offspring. I have to use like isolated language because I'm afraid that I will get emotional. So I might say like the mother or the father, and not say my mother, my dad, my mom. It's just, I might use different language. You might notice that. Offspring is kind of weird though. So they considered their kids to be non-American, even though we were born here. I have two siblings. One is 3 years apart, and the other is 13 years apart. Both brothers. I often found myself to be in a position to protect them, and that went on for a while. And when my second brother was born, it was pretty hard. There were so many times I had to pretend like things were okay just for my own sanity. But punching a kid, pulling a kid, punishing a kid, making them stand in a corner for hours and hours when they were just barely a toddler, peeing themselves over and over again. It's kind of hard. When my second sibling was born, I was in middle school. I think I was in 7th grade, and 7th or 8th grade. And by the time I had gone to college, I wanted to achieve so much for myself. I wanted to achieve a lot for myself. I had the constant pressure of being told that we're poor because you haven't gotten your degree yet. I'm like, I'm literally a first year, and they put a lot of expectations on me to uplift the family out of poverty, out of like bring more status and good reputation to the family. They're very much like reputation based, status based, how we look. And that was something that I just wasn't really interested in. It was a lot of pressure to be told that I have to be bringing money into a family that abused me, because up until that point I was secretly going to therapy. I had entered myself into therapy secretly since 15, 16, 15. I was sort of going into it, but I didn't really know anything about therapy. All I pretty much knew was from the movies, and at the time that I was growing up, therapy was pictured as something where they like fry your brain. Just basically messed up people go to therapy. And I was like, I'm not messed up. I'm aware of how things are going. I entered therapy at my community health center, and it was at a regular appointment. I think it wasn't even my appointment. I think it was one of my siblings' appointments, and I remember thinking, this is my only chance. So I was like, oh, doctor, I have a question, or nurse or whatever. I'm like, I have a question. And this was like us leaving the room. And they were like, yeah, sure. And then I had told my mom to just like wait outside, like I'll catch up with her. And she said, okay. One thing about my mother is she doesn't like leaving her children alone, like at all. She's very much the helicopter mother. I wouldn't say that's so much of a bad thing, but she was the one hitting and screaming, having adult tantrums, punching, pulling her and kicking and just all of it. And so it was more than being a helicopter mom, is what I'm saying. So anyways, I told her to wait outside. She was kind of reluctant. I was like, it's really, really quick. I just had a question. And the one thing I was afraid of was that my mom was gonna come back and ask what the question was. She was just that type of mother. She wanted to know every single little thing, so that she can manipulate it, and tell me that, I don't know, use that information to put me down somehow. She's always done it. So, you know, I take the nurse aside, I think it was the nurse, and I remember like I was about to cry, and I was taking too long to answer what the question was, and they told me to basically hurry up because they had to take in the next patient. I said what I said. It was kind of extreme. Was it extreme, or was it the truth? I didn't blurt it out. I just was like, okay, it's now or never. So I said it, that I had been abused. And their eyes were wide, and they were like, okay, we're gonna have you see someone immediately. I was still in the hallway. This all happened in the hallway. Figures. I mean, I was like 15, 16 and very afraid of like what they were gonna do to me. I thought they were gonna like fry my brain, or tell me that what happened to me didn't deserve help. I'm glad I'm doing this so early in the morning. No, really I am, because if I do this at a certain time in the afternoon, I'm guaranteed to have nightmares at night. And that's a whole nother story. Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, I'm still in the hallway. And they were like, I think you should see somebody. I think I know who, is what they told me. And we're still in the hallway, and I think they pulled someone out of a therapist in the middle of their session, and they had them meet me, and I was like, oh, hello. And she looked like me. She was South Asian. She wasn't like traditional. She was much more westernized than me. Mind you, I'm still a kid. You know, I was trying to live the best of both worlds, but I was leaning more traditional. I was kind of split, but a little more traditional. Anyways, you know, much later, I find out she's not like me pretty much at all. Like, she doesn't understand the words like desi. She doesn't understand that. So she was South Asian, and I don't know what kind of South Asian, but she definitely looked like me. And I worked with her for, God, how many years? Up until like 18, 19? I don't know. I miss her though. I did talk to her after we ended our relationship. I think it was sometime in my 20s. Yeah, it was my early 20s. Because my second therapist, who I also dearly miss. Anyways, I mean, I forget where I was going with this. Oh yeah, okay. So I, seek therapy. So I was already working on myself, and I saw several therapists. After the first one, I wanted to keep going. I think obsession is an understatement. I had this unattainable goal. It's very silly to think about this now. I had this unattainable goal to be 100% healed. That way I can prevent, my goal was like, if I became 100% healthy, like I know myself inside and out, and I know how to treat others inside and out, then nothing bad will ever happen to me ever again. That's not how life works, I guess. And every time something was going well and there was a tipping point, it crushed me. It crushed me very hard. Because there were so many moments where I just didn't understand. Why is it that I'm like gaining so much knowledge and bad things still happening? Naturally, when you're gaining all this knowledge, you want to spread the knowledge. And I tried very hard to educate my family on what I had learned. I didn't tell them where these ideas came from. But they rejected it very, very hard. When I went to college, it was very difficult. My sibling was still barely a toddler. And as he grew older, he was nonverbal. It's very violent behavior. And so I took it upon myself. I took it upon myself to raise him. So I did. I had to pause school so many times because every time I did well. And my parents knew actively that I was in school. They would create fights, a lot of yelling, a lot of abuse in the household. And I couldn't. I grieve the loss of opportunity to know myself in all of those years. And to become the best version of myself. They prevented me from connection. They prevented me from knowing myself. And they prevented me from a future that I could have had. My brother is now the youngest. He's older now. He's a teenager now, and I think I've done my due diligence. I did what I had to do, and now I can bring the focus back to myself. After so many years, I think I had quit school 3 different times, and now I've come back, and I have told no one. I think I had told the youngest, and which I kind of regret, kind of don't. I mean, I raised him, and I got so excited because I was finally doing something for myself. Of course, you know, we don't really talk right now, but I hope he keeps it to himself because I don't really want to hear it. Looking back, every single time my parents knew I was trying to achieve college, and I asked for them, you know, please, like, I'm trying to study, I'm trying to do homework, they would cause a scene, just yelling at me, and if I wouldn't give them access to me, they would do it through my sibling. And so I'm doing this for myself secretly. I enrolled, and this is very embarrassing, but I thought my situation is embarrassing and I'm sharing it. So the last time I was in school, I had pretty much flunked my classes for a second time. It put me on academic probation. I didn't really have to explain my situation much. They saw that I would get A's, and I would do well, and then I would suddenly flunk. And they said, well, you're coming back after a few years. We can temporarily lift the probation for you to take whatever classes you'd like. And then I did. I signed up for 2, not to overload myself. They both ended up being accelerated. Fun fact, I wasn't planning on actually enrolling this semester, but it happened to be like, I think a week before school was beginning, and I still had time to enroll. And it's been like a month now since I've been taking my classes, and I'm very happy. I'm very happy. My mind has shifted so many times. I really, really wanted to tell my parents about my return to school, but I just know that, I don't know whether it's intentional or subconsciously, they pick on me and they start something, and I haven't really talked about the middle child. He has become pretty much my worst nightmare. And he is a very strong hater. I tried to give him a chance to turn things around, and he did not. He thinks that he deserved that abuse, and that I deserved that abuse, and that my youngest deserved that abuse. And that's unforgivable. So I disowned him a long time ago. So I don't mention him much. But I disowned him a long time ago. And are you able to disown parents? I don't know. I don't claim them as my parents. I have to biologically, but yeah. I'm thinking so much because I haven't really thought about this until I sat down, but my parents, they never wanted me to move out. They never wanted me to have my own life or my own lifestyle. They wanted to get me married off at 15. I mean, all the signs of abuse were there. There was several different types of abuse, but that abuse of me, I don't know what it is. Why wouldn't you want your kid to be successful? But successful for them was defined very differently. It was to be a housewife, to be married into a family that brings in wealth. And I'm like, but they never wanted to assimilate in America despite being here. They just moved here to provide for their family back home. They never intended to assimilate here. Again, this is at a time like this right now, under the president that we have right now, I cannot stress enough that this is an individual case. This is not a representation of all South Asians out there. There are progressive families that do assimilate or at least support their kids' dreams. I've seen it. I don't need everybody to go and think that this is everybody else's story. It's not. It's not. So yeah, nobody knows I'm in school, and that I'm achieving and I'm doing well, and it's working out for me. I guess that's that. I did it. I told my story. Well, thank you for listening. If you've listened this far, I hope you follow my journey on how I achieve my dreams. I really want to be able to live on my own and travel the world. My program of choice is radiology radiology technologist. There you go. Just finishing up some prereqs. They'll only allow me to take 2 classes at a time to raise my probation, and that will take 3 semesters before I can apply to my program. Very excited. I'm so excited. Like, you have no idea how many career changes that I hope you have a great day. Until next time.